That beat going crazy.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another video and mechanical working day on the ZX7R. So guys, I've been running the bike up. We've done quite a few little bits on the bike. I had the bike out yesterday for my first real run on the bike. I was out with the fellas, about 10 of us, probably about 4 R1s, 2 S1000RRs, a quad bike Raptor, couple of things. So you know what happened. So I put the bike through its paces, and to be honest, the bike is running so good, bar a little small problem, but it's really running well. It's the first time I've had sort of got it up to some sort of speed and push through the gears and test the power and stuff, and surprisingly really smooth, keeping up with all these brand new bikes and everything. So I was really happy about that. I do still have a small niggling problem where, again, maybe someone can help diagnose. So what I hear a slight rattle, could be the clutch plates, but it's when it's sort of like on the lower RPMs. So sort of when I'm moving off, I can feel it. When the bike, I guess, is under more load, so on the lower RPMs, I can feel a little rattle, and then it just disappears after a sort of a second. After sort of get up to about maybe 3,000, 4,000 RPMs, it disappears. And then again, sometimes if I change maybe too low revs, then I hear it again, and as soon as I get up to a little bit more revs, then it disappears. So there's a slight, I can feel it and I know it's there, so obviously it's annoying me. So I'm not really sure where to look, but I've got the bike out today and I'm looking at a couple of things, because again, I'm just checking over the bike, doing my sort of services and so on, and also trying to chase this issue. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've found so far, and yeah, I'll show you how to do valve clearances. So I have, as you guys can see, torn the engine apart. Not as scary as it looks. So I'm taking obviously the gas tank off. So basically you need to take gas tank off, you need to take the whole air sort of filtration system, air box, all got to come off. Take the spark leads out. I didn't take the plugs out, I didn't really need to. You take the carbs off. I mean, again, I've only taken the choke cable off here, which is just one screw, just to get space so I could get the lid off. It's really tight, but I didn't really fancy taking all the throttle cables off, and after I've gotten them really seated nicely, so I've just loosened these, pulled this off. I've taken the cam cover off, which is really tight to get out. You really have to wriggle and twist it and sort of move the carbs a little bit out of the way and stuff, but I got it out. Another thing you need to do, which I'll show you guys here, is you need to take this side fairing off. You need to just take this bolt off on the reservoir so you can swing it down out of the way, because you need to get this pulse coil cover off so that you can turn the motor using this bolt. And also you can see on it where you've got the different timing marks, so you need these marks to do the timing, so you do have to take this cover off. So that's where I'm at. So what I've done so far is I've actually checked all the valves and recorded all my results. I'm going to show you what the results are, and I'm going to show you the method of checking everything. Now, one of the things I was looking for was for plastic pieces. I was expecting to find some in here, because there's a common issue with these where there's a guide that sits inside the valve cover and it sort of breaks to shreds after a while. When I did the first oil change, I found a piece of plastic in the engine. Being it was plastic, I wasn't too alarmed, but obviously I was a bit concerned as in where it came from. Now, when I took off this cover, I found this piece of plastic right here, stuck on like this. So I took it off, and it is basically the rest, or another piece of the part that I found earlier. The part I found earlier was actually smaller than this. This is actually quite a good chunk. It was actually smaller than this. I suspect there's probably the rest of it in the sump, so eventually I'm probably going to take the sump off and you know, we'll see what we find in here. Now sometimes the chain guides break. The tension on the chain is good, so I don't think the rattle is coming from the chain. There is a chain on the alternator apparently as well, which could be another possibility, but seems like the tension is good. Now I'll show you in here. So this is the crankcase cover, and right here there's a plastic bit that sits on here. Now this little, is a bit sharp on the edge, and I'm wondering if the chain has been rubbing on that. But basically when this sits on top like this, that little plastic guide that sits, that little plastic guide that sits there, it's only a little piece of plastic, it sort of stops the chain from sort of jumping up too much. You know, it could prevent it from skipping a tooth or something. But apparently a lot of people, they've all been broken off and they don't have any issues. So, but you know me, I'm going to try and find the part and replace it so that we have it and we have a peace of mind. So that's a piece of it here, I'm pretty sure. I didn't find any bits of it in here, so the fact that it's dropped down in the gap and a piece of it's ended up there, and then I found a piece in the sump, I would expect that the rest of it's in the sump, because apparently it won't get through the filter, the pickup filter. So that's that. Now clearances, let me just put this aside and I'll show you. Oh, I actually got some new grips as well, so I'll be replacing those today as well. I've got a new battery in here that I put in as well. So I'll show you what you do the clearances. So first thing you've got to do is obviously got 4 cylinders. You got your cylinder 1 is here, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4. This is your exhaust side, or the exhaust ports, and these are all the intake ports where the air goes in. So each cylinder has 4 valves. So you got 1 valve here, 1 valve here for cylinder 1. That's your intake valves, and then you've got 2 at the back as your exhaust valves. So they're the ones that open to let exhausts out, and these allow in air in. Then you've got 2 on this cylinder, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. So 16 valve. So it's a 16 valve engine. Now what you've got to do first is you've got 2 positions that you need to worry about. If you look here, you should see it says, let's see if I can show you, 1.2. So that's cylinder 1 and cylinder 2, and then all you're worried about is the T. Okay, so T for top dead center. See if I can focus and get this wire out of the way. Okay, so you've got T for your top dead center. Then above here you've got 2.3, that's cylinders 2 and 3, and again you've got a T. So that little mark there next to the T is what you need to worry about, and this little mark under the T is what you need to worry about. So you get I think it's a 20mm or 19mm socket, and you rotate this, and what you're looking for, you want that little mark on the T there to line up with a mark on that lobe. You might have to see the little mark on that lobe underneath it. Let me try and move it out of the way and show you guys. I've already done it now, so I can turn this now out of the way just so you can see a bit better. Let's try and do this with one hand. All right, cool. So if you look at that little lobe down there, this lobe, there's a mark on it. Okay, that mark you want to line up with the T. So if you start with, let's say 1.4 or the 1 and 4, you line up that T with that mark, then that will align some of the cylinders. So it will either align cylinder 1 or cylinder 4. Okay, so what you're looking for, I'll show you guys. Let me just see if I can quickly do this one again for you. I'm just gonna line them up. So again, there's an arrow, so you want to turn it in direction of the arrow, so that's clockwise. So I'll be turning it this way. I'm doing this all with one hand, guys, so it'll be a bit tricky. So let's see, I'm going to line it up roughly about there. Okay, now what you've got to look now to see which ones are at top dead center, you look at cylinders 1 and you look at cylinders 4. Now cylinders 1, the lobes, which are here, sort of like the pointy part, should be facing away from each other. So the intake lobes, which are these two, should be facing away from the exhaust ones, which they are. So those are facing that way and those are facing that way. And also the springs, they're not compressed, the valves are not compressed. And then cylinders 1, they are pointing towards each other, so they are compressing the springs. So these valves are open and these valves are closed on the compression stroke. So at the moment, cylinder 4 is at top dead center. So if you rotate that 360 all the way back around to the same position, then you will get the reverse. You will get cylinder 1 on top dead center and they will be pointing away from each other. So that's what you're looking for. So now we've got cylinder 4 at top dead center. According to the book, when you have cylinder 4 at top dead center, you can take the following readings, and I'll show you. I've written them down here. So when cylinder 4 is at top dead center, you can check the intake ports of cylinder number 2. You can also check the clearance on the exhaust ports of cylinder number 3, and you can check the intake and exhaust ports of cylinder 4. That's what you can check, and then you write these figures down. So for instance, cylinder 4, we've got exhaust ports, which I have A and B, and intake ports A and B. Okay, so we can check those. We can also check number 3 cylinder exhaust port. So here's number 3 cylinder here, and we can check these two. We can also check number 2 cylinder intake port, which are these two. So we can check these two, and these 4. Okay, so that's half of it already. Now to do the other half, we turn that lobe again and we get that mark 360 the other way, and then now we are at cylinder 1 top dead center. That gives you cylinder 1, you can read in and exhaust ports. That's basically all these 4 valves can be checked. And then you can do number 2 cylinder, the exhaust ports, and number 3 opposite, the intake ports. So that's basically these 4, these 2, and these 2, and that's basically all your valves there. So you have to check your spec. The spec says intake port should be between 0.17 and 0.25 millimeters, and the exhaust port should be between 0.22 and 0.31. What I tend to do is I go for roughly the middle figure and I start with that. And if it's too tight, then I start working my way down. If it's too loose, I start working my way up in sizes, and then I write down what I feel is the right one. So you should sort of get a bit of a drag when you get it in. So these are the recording measurements that I got. So exhaust mostly were 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, 0.20, 0.23, 0.23, 0.25, and then pretty much all except for one of the intake ports was 0.15, except for this one, which was 0.18. So according to the manual, these are all except for one out of spec slightly. Although the thing is with these is my gauges, I only have a 0.15 and a 0.18. I don't have a 0.17. So sometimes I feel it's a little bit loose on 0.15, but in 0.18 doesn't fit in. So it could be somewhere between 0.16, 0.7. It could be on the border. So I mean, they're about, I mean, ideally they would be right in the middle, sort of like 0.2. So they could probably get done, although I'm not gonna bother with them right now. These were pretty much all in spec, I think. Yeah, they were all in spec except for one, which is 0.2, which is a little bit on the low end. So that gap's a bit tight. So I'm not gonna do anything with them now today. What I'm gonna do is when I get the plastic bit that I've got to put in here, I've got to take this all off again, and maybe then I will do the valve clearances and get them all into spec. So I think that's what my plan is. I'm not going to do it now, it's a big job, and then still have to take all this off the chain and all that stuff, and take all these cams out and stuff. So I think that's what my plan is for now. So just wanted to show you guys the process of that, I'm going to attempt to put this all back together. It's pretty much reverse, and then we hopefully get the bike running up again, and hopefully everything be good. Right guys, so I've put it all back together. I've just run her up and everything and warmed it up. Seems like it's all running good. So yeah, happy days. So obviously I didn't actually do the valve clearances on there, as in show you how to, you know, do the cams, take the cams out, take the shim buckets out, replace the shims, put it all together and all that stuff. So I'll probably do that in another video. So at least in this video I've shown you the process of getting to the cams and how you measure your valve clearances. So I guess this video is more like a procedure or the sequence of how you measure your current clearances, and obviously then you can see whether you actually need to do any shim swaps. But as I said, I probably will do the ones that are out of spec when I get that plastic bit and you know, I get that sort of repaired inside there. So I'm going to take her out for a spin now, heading down to Surrey, down to the Rikers, for a quick little ride really. So it's about 15 miles from me, so I'm going to take that ride there, and obviously I'll see, you know, how she's feeling. But as I said, she's been riding good. I do have that sort of niggling issue, as I mentioned right in the beginning of the video, so hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that soon as well. Also, what I did is I checked the engine mounts sorry, just to make sure that the rattle wasn't the engine mounts and stuff. This mount actually wasn't that tight, so I tightened it up to spec. Also that one as well, he needed a tiny bit to torque it to spec, and also oh no, I think that one was alright, but there's another one up here somewhere that wasn't torqued to spec, so I torqued that one up, but this one I felt was a bit loose. So you never know, could have been rattling from the engine under load, who knows. But yeah, I'm going to take her out for a spin now. So yeah, that's it guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe for more videos like this. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Going crazy.